I, female, 29, just quit as maid of honor for my best friend, female 30, a week before her wedding. Did I overreact? Throwaway, because my friend and some bridesmaids use Reddit. So, my best friend Rachel and I have been friends for like 11 years now. We met freshman year of college as random roommates and just instantly clicked, even though we're totally different people. I'm more of the quiet, practical type who'd rather stay in with a book, and she's always been the outgoing one, dragging me to parties and pushing me out of my comfort zone, which honestly I needed back then. We have so many memories together from college, like this one-time sophomore year when we both got dumped in the same week and stayed up all night eating ice cream and watching terrible movies. Or that spring break trip junior year where we got these tiny matching star tattoos on our wrists. She covers hers with fancy bracelets now, but I still love mine. I literally helped her pass accounting by making these color-coded study guides because she was panicking about failing. We were inseparable. After college, we obviously couldn't be together 24/7 anymore, but we still stayed really close. I went into graphic design at a marketing agency. Nothing super fancy, but I enjoy it. While Rachel went into corporate finance and has been killing it. Like seriously, she makes probably triple what I do working at this high-profile investment firm. So anyway, about 2 years ago, she met James at some company retreat. He comes from this super wealthy family, like old money, political connections, the whole thing, and works as an executive at his dad's real estate company. And I started noticing Rachel changing a bit after they got together. She was suddenly really into designer everything and country clubs and stuff she never cared about before. I tried not to be judgy because, hey, she was happy and excited about her relationship. But it definitely felt like we were drifting apart a little. Then about a year ago, Rachel invited me to her family's lake house for the weekend. They've always treated me like family, which was super nice. That's when she told me James had proposed and asked me to be her maid of honor. She got all teary, saying that even though she had these new fancy friends from James's circle, I was her forever friend and she couldn't imagine getting married without me by her side. I was super honored and excited for her, even though in the back of my mind I was a little worried about money. I make okay money, but I'm still paying off student loans, and I know weddings can get expensive, but I figured I could make it work because this was my best friend. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs from our first dress shopping trip. Rachel insisted we go to this super exclusive boutique where you need an actual invitation. What the frick? And when I gently mentioned being on a budget, she was like, "Don't worry, we're just looking." But then she had me try on this $950 bridesmaid dress. Yes, $950. And when I awkwardly admitted I couldn't afford it, she looked so disappointed. Then the sales lady suggested a payment plan, and Rachel got all excited like, problem solved. I felt so uncomfortable, but agreed because I didn't want to disappoint her. As soon as we left, she posted pics of us at the boutique with blessed, and I felt really bad about it. From there, things just kept escalating. 32 hours for her bachelorette in Napa Valley. She insisted on it because James's friends' wives all had luxury bachelorettes. A bunch of bridesmaids backed out last minute, and I ended up covering most expenses. $1,100 for bridal shower stuff, after she rejected my original more affordable ideas as too basic and insisted on this fancy venue with catering. $850 for the dress, alterations, plus specific shoes, mandatory professional hair, makeup. When I suggested doing my own makeup to save money, she said it would ruin the photos. About $1,500 for all these random maid of honor duties that kept multiplying. Welcome baskets for James's international relatives, custom wedding weekend itineraries I had to design, arranging these surprise gifts for Rachel to discover each morning of her wedding week. I've been putting everything on credit cards and picking up freelance design jobs on weekends to try to keep up. I didn't want to be the friend who couldn't afford to celebrate her properly, you know? The breaking point happened at the rehearsal dinner 3 days ago. I spent weeks searching for the perfect rehearsal dinner dress on a budget of ease. I found this navy blue cocktail dress that was still nice but affordable. I texted Rachel a pic and she replied, "Looks fine," so I thought we were good. When I got to the dinner and walked up to the table, Rachel looked me up and down and told everyone my dress made me look budget and like I couldn't even try for her special weekend. Some of James's family members actually laughed And later I overheard Rachel telling James's mom that I just don't understand how things work in their circles, and that she tried to help me look appropriate but couldn't force me to have taste. I literally wanted to die. I somehow made it through dinner, fighting back tears the whole time, then left early, saying I had a migraine. When I got home, I just broke down crying. This person, who's supposedly my best friend, just humiliated me in front of all these rich people after I've been going into debt trying to be the perfect maid of honor for her. So, I returned the $3,000 custom crystal champagne flutes I'd bought as her wedding gift. Yes, I spent nearly a month's rent on them because she once pointed out similar ones at Neiman Marcus. And then I sent her a formal email resigning as maid of honor. I attached receipts of all my expenses, totaling $7,150, and explained that after a decade of friendship, I couldn't face any more public humiliation just because I don't fit into her new fancy life. The wedding is in exactly 1 week, and my phone has been blowing up nonstop. Rachel's mom called me crying, saying I'm ruining everything. Other bridesmaids are split between telling me I'm being dramatic and admitting Rachel has been a nightmare to everyone. I feel awful about the timing, but also relieved, like a weight has been lifted. But also guilty because we've been friends for so long and I know this is the most important day of her life. Did I completely overreact? Should I have just sucked it up for 1 more week? I honestly can't tell if I'm the bad guy here. Edit. Holy crap, I did not expect this to blow up overnight. Thanks for all the responses. Edit 2. To answer some common questions, no, Rachel never directly offered to help with any expenses. She would just say things like, "Don't worry about it," or "We'll figure it out," which I now realize meant, "You'll figure out how to pay for it." Edit 3. A few people asked about the other bridesmaids. There are 6 others. 2 are Rachel's cousins, 1 is her sister, and 3 are friends from work James' circle. The ones from work James's social group could easily afford everything, but I know her sister and cousins were also struggling. Edit 4. To those asking about Rachel's reaction to my email, she hasn't directly responded yet, just having her mom and some of the bridesmaids reach out. I'm honestly terrified to check my email again. Edit 5. Looking back, there were definitely small moments over the past few years where Rachel would make little comments about my apartment, my car, my clothes, but they were always framed as just trying to help, so I brushed them off. I guess I didn't want to see that my friend was changing. Now for the first update. Holy shit, you guys. I posted last night after sending that email to Rachel, and I was honestly so exhausted, I just crashed immediately after. Like I've been running on pure anxiety and stress for weeks trying to keep up with all her demands, and I just completely passed out. I woke up this morning to my phone going crazy. I'm not even exaggerating when I say I had 38 missed calls. 38. 17 from Rachel, 6 from her mom, 5 from the wedding planner, who I've never even spoken to directly before, and the rest from various bridesmaids, and even James, the groom. Plus, like a billion text messages. I honestly just sat there staring at my phone feeling sick. I made myself some chamomile and lavender tea my grandma taught me to make. My hands were shaking so bad, I spilled half of it on my counter. I called in sick to work because there was no way I could focus on the client presentation I was supposed to finish today. My boss was actually super nice about it. Maybe because I've barely taken any sick days this year, since I've been using all my time off for Rachel's endless wedding events. Okay, so I finally got the courage to look at some of the texts, and they were a lot. Rachel's messages basically cycled between rage, guilt trips, and desperate pleading. She kept bringing up things she'd done for me over the years, like staying up after my breakup with Matt and driving me to job interviews when my car broke down. The texts from the other bridesmaids were mixed. Some were confused about what was happening. Others were checking if I was okay. I couldn't bring myself to listen to all the voicemails right away, so I just turned off all notifications because my anxiety was through the roof. After about an hour of just sitting on my couch staring at the wall, literally, I finally started listening to the voicemails. Rachel's mom's messages were interesting. She started off cold, saying my behavior was unacceptable and selfish. Then in her later messages, she suggested we could discuss arrangements, if this was about money. The wedding planner left increasingly panicked messages about how everything was arranged for 7 bridesmaids, the photographer had planned all the shots, and the seating would be off balance now. Like, sorry lady, not my problem anymore. But the weirdest thing was getting calls from James. I mean, I've met him plenty of times, but we're not close or anything. I was really hesitant to answer when he called again, but I figured it might be important. When I picked up, he was being formal but tense. He asked why I had quit so close to the wedding date. I was super nervous, but told him about the financial stuff and how it had been really hard to keep up with all the expenses. I also mentioned the dress comment at the rehearsal dinner. He got really quiet when I told him about my expense spreadsheet showing I'd spent over $7,000. He said Rachel had told him I insisted on handling these expenses because I wanted to do something special for her as her oldest friend. I explained that no, I had actually tried multiple times to suggest more affordable options, but Rachel had shot them all down. He apologized for the dress comment and said he was embarrassed by Rachel's behavior and had spoken to her about it after the dinner. He said he needed to have a serious talk with Rachel. Then things got really crazy. About 3 hours after talking to James, I started getting texts from Lindsay, one of the bridesmaids who's been friends with Rachel since their first job after college. She told me James confronted Rachel about all the expenses she'd forced on me, and it turned into a huge fight at the bridal suite. According to Lindsay, Rachel said she didn't care if I couldn't afford to be in a nice wedding when James questioned her about my expenses. Some of the bridesmaids overheard this and were super uncomfortable. By that evening, Lindsay texted me that she had quit the wedding party too. She said she couldn't be part of this after seeing how Rachel treated me. And then Jordan, Rachel's cousin, who's also a bridesmaid, also quit. She'd already been feeling uncomfortable with how demanding Rachel was being. Apparently, Rachel made her reschedule a medical procedure because it would interfere with some random pre-wedding event. But then Rachel's sister Megan called me. She was actually supportive and told me there was stuff going on that I wasn't fully aware of. Apparently, James's family had initially been pretty against him marrying Rachel because she wasn't from their social circle. They considered her new money, which is hilarious because Rachel's family is solidly middle class like mine. Megan said Rachel had been trying to create this perfect, elaborate wedding to prove herself worthy of their son. James had refused his parents' financial help because he wanted to prove he could do it on his own, but they were still expected to have this super extravagant wedding that measured up to his family's standards. So, they've actually been stretching themselves financially too. I mean, that context makes me slightly more sympathetic to the pressure Rachel's been under, but it still doesn't excuse how she treated me. If she was struggling with insecurity, she could have talked to me instead of using me as her emotional and financial punching bag. The next 2 days were insane. Megan, Rachel's sister, quit the wedding party after getting into a huge fight with Rachel about how she'd treated me. Then Alexis, Rachel's friend from college, suddenly had a family emergency. Lindsay told me later she totally made it up to avoid the drama. And then James's brother Ryan withdrew as best man after arguing with James about the whole situation. According to Lindsay, Ryan thought James should postpone the wedding and reevaluate the relationship after seeing how Rachel was handling things. So basically, in just 3 days after I resigned, half of the wedding party had quit. The original plan was 6 bridesmaids and 6 groomsmen, including me and Ryan as MOH and best man. Now they've lost me, Lindsay, Jordan, Megan, Alexis, and Ryan. The whole wedding is in complete chaos. Rachel's final voicemail to me was sad. She was sobbing, saying her perfect day was ruined and that I had gotten everyone to quit on purpose as revenge. I feel so conflicted right now. Part of me feels guilty because this was supposed to be a decade-long friendship, and I never wanted to cause this much drama. But another part of me feels relieved that I finally stood up for myself after months of being treated like a walking ATM and emotional support robot. Lindsay says Rachel's frantically trying to salvage the wedding, recruiting distant cousins and coworkers as emergency replacement bridesmaids. The photographer is freaking out about having to redo all the shot lists, and James' family is losing patience with the whole situation. The wedding is still scheduled for this Saturday, 4 days from now, and I have no idea if it's even going to happen at this point. I'm still processing the likely end of what was once my most important friendship. But honestly, all the other bridesmaids quitting too makes me feel like maybe I wasn't crazy for feeling mistreated all this time. Edit. Wow, I wasn't expecting this to blow up again. Thanks for all the supportive comments. Edit 2. A lot of people are asking if I'm going to reach out to Rachel before the wedding. I honestly don't know. Part of me thinks I should try to talk to her one last time, but another part of me is still really hurt and doesn't want to get pulled back into the drama. Edit 3. To answer the questions about keeping the dress, yes, I still have it. It's hanging in my closet, making me feel guilty every time I see it. I haven't decided what to do with it yet. Edit 4. For everyone asking about James, no, I don't think he's some knight in shining armor for calling me. He's been present for months, while Rachel treated me, and others apparently, like garbage. He only seemed concerned once he realized how much money I'd spent. I think he's mostly worried about how this affects him and the wedding, not necessarily about my feelings. Edit 5. To clarify about the expenses, no, I never directly asked Rachel for help with the costs. I would make comments like, "Wow, that's really expensive," or "I don't know if I can afford that." And she would just say things like, "It's my special day," or "Everyone else is managing." I should have been more direct, I guess, but it's hard when your childhood best friend is acting like you're just a prop in her perfect wedding. Now for the second update. So it's been about 2 months since Rachel's wedding day, and I think I'm finally ready to talk about everything that happened. First, I want to thank everyone for all the supportive comments on my previous posts. You guys seriously kept me sane during what was probably the most stressful period of my life. Those last few days before the wedding were absolute chaos. I was getting nonstop updates from Lindsay, the bridesmaid who quit right after me, about Rachel frantically trying to find replacement bridesmaids. Apparently, she was calling up distant cousins and even coworkers she barely knew to try and fill the spots. The wedding planner was having a complete meltdown about having to redo all the seating arrangements and photo lists and whatever else. My boss was actually super understanding about everything and gave me a few days off when I explained the situation. Not all the drama obvious, just said I was going through a personal crisis. My college roommate Jen came and stayed with me for a couple days because I was honestly having panic attacks every time my phone buzzed with a new message. She basically forced me to eat actual meals and take showers, which, yeah, I needed that lol. Oh, and for everyone who suggested therapy in the comments, yes, I finally started going. Turns out I have some major people-pleasing tendencies that I need to work on. Who would have thought? The night before the wedding, I got this unexpected text from James, the groom, asking if we could talk. I was honestly really hesitant because, boundaries. But I was also curious about what was happening and agreed to a quick phone call. The conversation was surprising. He sounded really stressed, but also calm. He told me that he and Rachel had been having some serious talks about their relationship after everything that happened. He said seeing how Rachel treated me made him question a lot of things he'd been ignoring about their relationship. He said they were still having the wedding but had scaled everything way back. They were focusing on what actually matters instead of how things look to other people. I just kind of stayed neutral during the conversation. I hope things work out for you guys, but I didn't commit to anything or apologize for quitting. I've learned my lesson about boundaries, lol. On the actual wedding day, I deliberately went completely offline. I turned off my phone and drove to this hiking trail about an hour away that I'd been wanting to check out forever, but never had time for, because I was always busy with Rachel's wedding stuff. It was actually really peaceful and exactly what I needed. When I got home that evening, there was a note that had been slipped under my apartment door from Rachel. The writing was shaky, and it looked like she'd been crying while writing it. She asked if we could please talk after she got back from her honeymoon. I didn't respond to it. I needed more time. So yes, the wedding did happen, but from what Lindsay told me, it was completely different from the original plans. It was much smaller, and the replacement bridesmaids were obviously super uncomfortable and didn't know what they were doing. The reception that was supposed to be this elaborate 7-course dinner with live entertainment ended up being really subdued. Lindsay said lots of guests were whispering about the obvious changes. Over the next week, I kept getting updates about Rachel and James during their honeymoon. They'd originally planned this 2-week trip to the Maldives, staying at some expensive resort, but they changed it to just 1 week at a beach resort in Florida instead. Megan, Rachel's sister, who also quit the bridal party, told me they were having some pretty intense conversations about their relationship and priorities. Apparently, James was really pushing Rachel to reflect on her behavior. Rachel showed up at my apartment unannounced on a Sunday afternoon about a week after they got back from their honeymoon. I was literally in my pajamas doing laundry when I heard the knock. I looked through the peephole and almost had a heart attack when I saw it was her. I hesitated for like a full minute before opening the door. When I did, she just stood there staring at me. She looked different. Her hair and makeup were still done, but she wasn't wearing designer clothes like usual, just jeans and a regular sweater. The second I let her in, she started crying. Not like cute movie crying, but like ugly crying with mascara running everywhere. I didn't rush to comfort her like I normally would have. I just offered her a glass of water and sat in the chair across from her instead of next to her on the couch. After she calmed down a bit, she handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $7,150, the exact amount from the expense spreadsheet I'd sent her. I just stared at it, not really knowing what to say. She finally broke the silence by apologizing for the dress comment at the rehearsal dinner. She admitted it was mean and that she'd said it deliberately to impress James's mom, who was sitting at the table. I asked her point blank why she would intentionally hurt someone she supposedly cared about, and that's when she started really crying. She told me she felt insecure around James's family and was desperate to prove she belonged in their world. She thought if she could pull off this perfect wedding, they would finally accept her. I told her that real friends support each other instead of treating each other badly. I explained how I had maxed out 2 credit cards trying to meet her demands and was losing sleep over how to pay for everything. She looked shocked and said she never thought about how I would actually pay for everything. She just assumed. I think she genuinely never considered the financial impact of her demands, which is crazy to me, but also makes sense given how self-centered she'd become. I told her that honestly, the money wasn't even the main issue. It was the complete lack of respect and the way she humiliated me in front of everyone at the rehearsal dinner. That's when she told me that James almost called off the wedding entirely after finding out how she'd been treating me and the other bridesmaids. The conversation lasted almost 3 hours. At the end, she asked if there was any chance we could repair our friendship. I told her I needed time and couldn't make any promises. I was still processing everything. The check? Yeah, I did cash it. I paid off all the credit card debt I'd racked up, and I'm using the rest to finally take that solo trip to Portugal I've been dreaming about for years. I'm leaving next month. Any recommendations from Portuguese Redditors would be appreciated. In the weeks after our conversation, I heard from other former bridesmaids who'd had similar talks with Rachel. Apparently, the wedding disaster triggered her to think about her behavior. She's now in therapy and couples counseling with James. According to Megan, James's family has actually gained some respect for Rachel after seeing her take responsibility and make genuine apologies with everyone she hurt. This whole experience has changed me in ways I never expected. I've become way more assertive at work. I actually asked for a raise last week and got it. I'm setting healthier boundaries in all my relationships. I've reconnected with old friends I'd neglected because I was always prioritizing Rachel. I ran into James and Rachel at a restaurant downtown last weekend. It was awkward, but civil. James mentioned their house hunting in West Side, which is way more modest than the exclusive neighborhood they were originally planning on. He mentioned building a solid foundation instead of trying to impress people, and Rachel just nodded along. Rachel and I have exchanged a few text messages in the last couple weeks. Nothing deep, just surface level, hope you're doing well, type stuff. I honestly don't know if we'll ever get back the friendship we had. I'm not sure if I even want that anymore, but I'm okay with the uncertainty. I've realized that sometimes friendships need to completely break before they can potentially be rebuilt in a healthier way. And honestly, I'm proud of myself for finally prioritizing my self-respect over maintaining a friendship at any cost. The most unexpected outcome of all this is how many people have told me they respect the stand I took. Not just the other bridesmaids who followed my lead, but also coworkers and other friends who've heard the story. My therapist even uses my story, anonymously, obviously, as an example of healthy boundary setting with her other clients. So yeah, that's what happened. Returning the wedding gift and resigning 1 week before the wedding was definitely dramatic, but it ended up being the thing that not only freed me from a bad friendship, but maybe also helped Rachel recognize and address her own problems. And honestly, I feel more like myself than I have in years. For everyone asking if I still have the bridesmaid dress, yes, it's still hanging in my closet. I'm thinking of having it altered into a normal cocktail dress I can actually wear again, or maybe just donating it. I don't know. To those asking if I'll be friends with Rachel again, I honestly don't know. We're in this weird limbo right now where we're cordial but distant. I'm taking it one day at a time. Some people are calling James a hero in this situation, but let's be clear. He was present for months while Rachel treated me and others like garbage and only stepped in when the wedding was falling apart. So no, he doesn't get a medal for basic decency after the fact. To the commenter who asked about therapy, yes, I'm still going every week and it's been super helpful. If you're on the fence about going, this is your sign to make that appointment. Since so many are asking about the expenses, yes, I got all the money back. The check cleared. I was nervous about that, lol. And I've already paid off both credit cards completely. I actually checked my credit score yesterday and it went up 43 points.